right? That's kind of the thesis. But we need to have a little crisis first.
Well, that was the next million sats question of how then, so people like you and me, people that are in crypto, how are you expecting that to impact the crypto markets? How is the crypto market going to fare and play out over the next 12 to 18 months? What is your approach?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we know that they're going to print money to save the banking system. We just don't know when it's going to happen and then what the program is going to look like. They're not going to call it quantitative easing, or not going to call this thing that they called it before, because that's politically not suitable. They'll come up with a new alphabet letter name for it. And, people like me and others will say, oh, actually, guess what, guys? Like, if you really look at it, how it works, it's printing money. And I think Bitcoin is very attuned to that. We saw the price go from like 48 to 38,000. I know I was calling for lower. Didn't happen. We've broken above 50. So we're hovering around there right now. I think that after hundreds of years of central banks bailing out indebted financial institutions, and the first too big to fail bailout was the Bank of England in 1773 with the East India Company, when they were over indebted and everyone owned their stock and said, oh shit, we're going to go bankrupt. Please lend us money. And because all the bankers own the stock, they took the public money and gave it to the East India Company and bailed them out. So that was the first major bailout we've done. And every single time there's been a crisis.
Okay, so what about Hong Kong? Because Hong Kong is opening up to crypto a little bit. Are you expecting Hong Kong to be one of those come-ups that is a little bit more appealing than the rest?
I think Hong Kong is going to be competing with New York to get crypto funds. But obviously, they're not going to compete with Western fund managers who, by and large, are shunning anything China related because they view it as uninvestable for political reasons. But Hong Kong is the conduit for mainland Chinese capital to go into a it's not a free market, but it's freer than the Chinese capital markets. And so I think that if they face the issue where Chinese people are like, oh, there's going to be all this money printing, we need to get into an asset that protects it, rather than them actually owning Bitcoin, there'll be a conduit for them to invest in, spot ETFs listed in Hong Kong that are run by Chinese asset managers, which are owned by the Chinese government. So the people think that they're escaping the financial ruin of a fiat debasement, but they're actually just handing their money to a government proxy and the money stays in the system. And it's the same thing in the US, which with the BlackRock ETF, that is a proxy for the US government. If the US government ever needs to go and confiscate all that Bitcoin or change the rules and sequester it and make sure you can never take it out, stroke of a pen, there you go. Money is subject to taxation by inflation as well.
Is there a risk that we're killing Bitcoin with the surge of traffic for spot Bitcoin ETFs, institutional demand coming through? Is Bitcoin still the money of the people?
I think so. And again, I don't think the response, if you're afraid of BlackRock and some of these other managers, is to say we need to ban them from owning Bitcoin. That's not how Bitcoin works. It's a permissionless system. Anyone who wants to own it for any purpose is allowed to do so. If we want to maintain the progress of super hard crypto money, then we're going to have to become active. The best part about owning Bitcoin and why the community is so strong is because people care about it and they do things. Now, BlackRock is a apathetic money manager. They don't do anything. They collect assets and charge a fee and sit on them. They're passive. So they're not going to do good things and they're not going to do bad things. But they're not going to have Bitcoin move out of their custody. Unless, and maybe there's some bond or something they buy. I doubt it. But that Bitcoin is just going to sit there. So the more Bitcoin they accumulate, the more Bitcoin that's never going to move and never going to do anything. Obviously the large whales in Bitcoin, they're not spending money all the time, but if you take a look at what the investments of people like Roger Ver and the Winklevi and some of the other large Bitcoin holders were doing back 10 years ago, they were investing in companies, giving people Bitcoin to build a Shiba Inu, dog with hat. Like literally, if you take the collective dog money ecosystem, it's probably market cap of, I don't know, close to $100 billion. Like these things are literally like so stupid and hilarious at the same time. And they're worth all this money and they trade, hundreds of millions of dollars a day of trading volume. It's BBC people who've taken their shitty fiat paper shit money and said, I'm going to buy this fucking dog picture on the internet. And this dog picture is going to be worth a lot of money. And some people have made generational wealth buying and holding fucking dog money. Like it's hilarious. I think that it just shows the worthlessness of this thing called fiat money and the extreme that What was a great invention at the time, probably back a few hundred years ago when governments started using paper money, has now become this perversion where everyone is just racing to print as much of it as possible and degrade the value of human labor in the countries in which it's printed.
I spent about 2 hours yesterday trying to find a dog with bobble hat for this interview for this exact purpose, and I used to be a TradFi reporter, so we're in a parody in ourselves. We all love it. Um, okay, now I want to turn to ask you about FTX, and it looks like it's on a path to pay out all of its users. Have you expected this outcome? What is your outlook? So first of all, what is some of the, let's say, tokens that you're most excited about this year? Maybe from, let's start with like a trading perspective. If there's any that you're like, okay, you mentioned dog with hat is like, this is just a parody in itself. What kind of things are you looking at as potential narratives in the space for 2024?
So obviously the Solana ecosystem is super vibrant, super vocal, having a lot of fun trading. And the coin's gone from I think $7 at the FTX lows, and now it's 110 or whatever it is. I think there's a lot of energy there. I ultimately think Solana is a dog shit blockchain. Doesn't matter, but people like to trade it. People are vocal about it. People hate it and love it. And you want energy, you want pathos. That's what you're trading. You're trading the human emotion as evidence in the chart. And so I love Solana as a trading vehicle. The great thing about crypto is because it's such a free market that's devoid of all of the central bank fuckery, it actually trades pretty technical, and it trades very on a human psychological level. Big numbers like 100 mean something, or 200 or 250, right? That, you know, and in an abstract way mean nothing at all, but it's a bunch of humans trading against each other and without.
Very long time, you are a crypto OG. Everyone can make crypto mistakes. And I think people can watch shows like this and say, you know what, like I want this lifestyle, I want to trade, I want to get rich quick, but it's not that easy. For everyone watching, it is not that easy. What has been some of your life lessons along the way? Maybe something that you can
So
share
I
with us.
always tell people in crypto, everybody's trying to fuck you. Don't trust anyone. And I think if you go into it with that mindset, where okay, someone tells you something, you're not going to call them a liar to their face. Say, "Oh, thank you very much," and then you go back and you verify that statement on your own. Don't take anyone's word for anything, no matter who they are, or what program you saw them on, or Vitalik loves them, or they claim they were Satoshi, whatever. It doesn't matter. Do your own research, and you'll save yourself a lot of issues. And if you feel like in the pit of your stomach, that doesn't really feel right, I don't know why, just don't do it. There's no one who's forcing you to click that last confirm on MetaMask, who's forcing you to put your password in to a site that you don't recognize, who's forcing you to click on that email phishing link. Right? $1 trillion to do something in AI to compete with OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and whatever it is, right? Something big. It's got to be a big vision. We have this new way of potentially raising funds, the point system and any derivatives that people create. I think we'll start to see something like that probably in 2025. And once we know what the narratives are people care about, the new way of fundraising that people are getting behind, and then you combine those two together, and then you get an EO style complete piece of dog shit that people will raise money, and they'll raise maybe this time will be hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't know. It's going to be insane.
And how can people detect the bullshit? So you've mentioned that it's kind of like, don't trust, verify. You've got to do your own research. But is there also a way that you can be like, okay, these kind of buzzwords, these are no-goes. These are things that says little waving of a red flag over here in the corner.
I think you get that sort of perspective if you start reading white papers of very successful projects, like read the Bitcoin white paper.